things dramatically changed when he went to attend a conference in the UK, and he got visa issues, and he wasn't able to come back as we had expected. Mom had to come in to support the ministry and the family financially. We went through a desert, poverty and scarcity of literally everything. Getting meals was a miracle. On a good day, we had two. On a bad day, we would have porridge, and that was it. It was in that wilderness that my mom met a lady from Operation Christmas Child. Watkins were gathered, and we couldn't help but to wait expectantly to receive our shoeboxes. The day that I received my shoebox was a very special day. I really felt like God was telling me, Emmanuel, I love you. I know you. Your name is written in the palm of my hand. I opened it, and the first thing that hit me was the sweet smell. But there was still one thing that I hadn't seen right below the box, and that was the harmonica. The harmonica resonated with me. It was such a special and personal gift because it was a musical instrument, and I am a musician. I want to share with you a song that my teacher taught me. Beloved, you will never know what a shoebox means to people like me in Africa. It's a big gift that comes in a small package. It's a ray of light in the darkness. It's a sound of sweet melody amidst the noise. It's a river in the desert.
Good morning. I want to take this time to welcome each one of you out to the Watkins Chapel this morning. If you're a first-time visitor, please fill out a card and put it in the altar plate when it comes by so we have a record of your visit. For those that are visiting again, we do welcome you too, and thanks for coming back. As far as announcements, thanks for all who came out this past Friday night for our Trunk or Treat Fall Festival. It was a big success. Great time to have all, and some very creative ideas in the trunk. So thank you all who participated in that. Other announcements for this coming up this week, we've got our family night meal, and those that are planning on coming to a family night meal, if you would just show your hand, raise a hand, so we can see how many we need to plan for. And then after that, we'll have our children and students Bible study at 6:30 with adult prayer meeting at 6:45. So come out and enjoy the Wednesday night with us. This year, our Thanksgiving community service will be held here at Watkins on November the 19th. And we're responsible for providing cakes and pies for that night. So if you want to bake a cake, buy a cake, whatever you need to do, please get with myself or Teresa so we can get you on the list to make sure we have enough. And if we come a little short that Monday or that Sunday, we'll make sure we get enough here. But if you want to step forward and bake or buy, please let us know. Operation Christmas Child. There's quite a few items on the back bulletin board. You'll still need it for the boys and the girls. So if you would take a thing off the back there, ornament, and get those purchased, and we'll be collecting those for the end of October. Next Sunday, don't forget, fall back. Clocks go back next Sunday's 1 hour, so make sure you get your times right for next Sunday. Special day today, keep our pastor and his wife in your prayers as they're traveling they're in India right now and be coming back into this week. Keep them in your prayers. Keep the Jason Champion family in your prayers, as Jason did pass away this past week, and his funeral service will be today. Big loss for our community, those that know Jason and his family. those that are here today to hear our guest speaker, we appreciate it. We're all looking for a great message this morning, and keep Landon in your prayers as he delivers the message for us today. I'll lead us in a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, what a glorious day it is to be able to come out to the house of the Lord and worship with you with freedom. Lord, there's so many things going on in our world and our country, and we just don't understand have all the answers, but Lord, we know that you're the person that does. And we may have some doubt about our brothers and our sisters, Lord, but all we can do is lift them up in prayer to you. That you would reach down and touch them and heal them, heal their minds, so that they would come to know that you are our great Savior, our great healer. Lord, we ask you to be with each one here today. We especially ask you to be with Landon. We know the message that you have put upon his heart today, Lord, is going to be delivered in a way that you have given him the confidence to do. We're thankful for his family being here today to support him, and all the church people that are here today that have spoken with him this morning. Lord, we know that you've got him in your hand and are covering every word with him. Be with our sick and suffering, the ones that have lost loved ones, Lord, and be with us as we go through this week, Lord, as we have this mission field that's right in front of our front door. And we can share what you have meant to each one of us. Now take charge of this service. Lead our worship team and Landon through the end of this service. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please stand and welcome a neighbor. is worth the living just because he lives.
Redeemer. pray for Landon this morning as he gets in front of us and just preaches what you have put on his heart, and maybe we can get something out of that to take with us. Lord, I thank you for the beautiful weather you've given us this week, warm weather, sunshine. Lord, also I pray for this offering and those that give, and I pray that we give what we see fit. In Jesus' name I pray.
You may be seated. Struggle with Landon just a little bit this morning. He does not appear to be nervous at all. But I get nervous, and I've been standing before the congregation for a while, but I guess it keeps me home. I have butterflies in my stomach. And so, just to have a thought on your mind this morning, my mind this morning is, you know, growing up here was such a blessing. I know you may have been in another church or location, but I always remember our grandparents, seniors, our parents, and what they taught us. Sometimes it's hard when you're trying to stand alone, but God tells us not to give up, that He's going to be with us there in the end. And so the river's going to keep on flowing. When peace You'll start over. Technical difficulty. We'll do it. It's
over you and me.
Surround yourself with others who can give wise counsel. Galatians 6:9 tells us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up."
God's love is like a river, every turn and bend, and faith in Him will turn your heart around. 'Cause even though we sin, there's forgiveness in the end, and the river's gonna keep on rolling on. Keep on rolling to the ocean. Keep on rolling to the sea. Keep on rolling till the love we need washes over you. Keep on rolling till the love we need washes over you. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
If you've got someone, if you children's church, if you got someone who wants to go to children's church, I don't know if we have any leaders that want to do it today because everybody wants to hear Landon. So if you need to go to the fellowship hall, the nursery's open. So if you feel it right, but all our leaders wanted to hear Landon this morning. I don't need to introduce him. Those that's been here a while, Landon's been coming for probably a couple of years, and if you just hang around a little bit, he'll talk to you. He'll talk to you, and he'll talk to you. Angie, my wife and I had the pleasure of going to the association meeting with him the other night, and well, loves to talk. And that's great, because he loves the Lord too. I found that out. He loves the Lord. I asked him this morning, was he giving his testimony or the preaching? He said straight up preaching. So enjoy what Landon's got on his heart. He comes from good folk, good people down the road. Known him for a while. Those that grew up in the Amen community know the family too. So Landon, this is yours. You close us when you see fit, buddy.
There we go. The fresh report on this will do it since it hasn't been this back. All right. I grew up playing baseball. I stepped up to the plate many a time, but I ain't never been more nervous than at the plate. Plus, I was left-handed, so we used to had a coach one time gave me a bulletproof vest to wear on my right side rib so that if the ball hit me, it wouldn't hurt so bad. So this made me more nervous than facing any wild pitcher. So this kind of came about as a joke, really. We were doing a book study, and Billy and myself get hungry pretty often, and we hadn't had anything to eat that Sunday night for supper, so we convinced Adam to drive, Austin to ride with us, and us four sent off to Smithfield Chicken Barbecue in Zebulon. On the way back, Billy's like, I gotta have somebody to fill in for me when I go to India. I said, cool, call one of your buddies. I didn't mean me. I mean the preaching days. Long story short on that, we've met quite a bit, and had the opportunity to, he said, just pray about it, see what, comes to mind as far as what scripture that you want to preach on, and I said, okay, and by next week you should have an answer. And I saw, out of Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 through 8, I saw 5 and 6, probably about 10, 11 times during the week, and I said, all right, God, I think I got it after about the 5th or 6th one. And so got the opportunity to preach it, find out, remembered later on I forgot that it was some of Mom's favorites, so hopefully I can live up to that too. But yeah, we're in Proverbs chapter 3, going through 1 through 8 this morning. And, what it is a letter that Solomon wrote. That some people believe that he wrote it for his grandson. Some people believe he wrote it and, spoke it to his actual son. And, but a little history on King Solomon. He reigned for about 40 years. And, no, you're fine. You're fine. Poor David. My bad, buddy. And the other people, looks like Luke's already out. So he ain't even want to hear it. But King Solomon wrote this again. He wrote this. Most commentaries believe that he wrote it for his son, and King Solomon, even historians, not necessarily just for the biblical historians, but even history, just standard history, people, non-religious history, if you will, they believe that he is the richest man to ever live on this planet. For reference, I looked it up. I believe it's 220, 230 billion is what Elon Musk, the richest man on earth right now. One calculation that I read said that King Solomon today would have $2.1 trillion in net worth. And so he was known for his wisdom. He was known for his wealth. And so obviously he had a lot coming in. And one of the historians, biblical historians, said that this put him around probably late 40s, maybe in his 50s. A lot of historians say probably in his 50s. So he's trying to bestow some of this knowledge that he has, and allowing God to use him to write this letter to his son, which obviously now we all get the privilege to be able to listen to and learn from. But as I started reading, kind of starting from verse 1 going down to 8, it reminded me a lot of some times. I'm sure you can relate to it a lot as well. But for myself, it reminded a lot of, whether it was my parents that were sitting in the back or my grandparents that are, at their house. I stayed with them all summer long, so it was nothing to have a popsicle on the porch and a rocking chair and listen to, whether it was some old story about a car granddad had or some life lesson that he wanted to teach you. With Dad, it was always on the front of a bass boat. That was always the lesson, With Mama, it was usually riding in the car when she took me to school. Now I'm the one driving her to work, so, still gets the opportunity to tell me something. You think I talk, ride with Mama. Mr. Eddie's right, I'll talk your ears off, but I think Mama talked mine off more than anybody. But I definitely get that from her for sure. So you can thank Mama for me being up here, or you can thank her for me getting off of it at the end if you want. But those are the memories. When I was reading through this, it just felt like that same thing that just he looked at his son or his grandson or whoever was there and wanted to bestow that knowledge that he had, that wisdom that he had, and allow God to talk through him in that. And so that was kind of what I was reading when I got that from it. But I'm going to start right here in verse 1. I'm reading from the NIV, so that'll be the translation that I'll have. And it looks like we got it on the screen here. So starting verse 1, my son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart. For they will prolong your life in many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Go to 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. All right, so that went all the way through 8 there. And This headset's going to aggravate me. Billy's head is about 2 inches bigger than mine. So if you hear it get fuzzy or something, it's because I'm moving and it's moving. But I feel like Garth Brooks with them. I got no. I know why y'all want me to be up here because you want me to sing them. You know, Josh Turner messed me up and made a gospel album one time. I'm like, boy, now you got everybody want me to sing some. But I got to make a couple jokes to make me less nervous. All right. So going into so today, looking into it. So I looked at this, and so I'm going to try to break it down. I'm going to try to keep this thing reading. But I'm going to try to break this down looking into 3 different points here and the title, I guess, really is more just simply godly wisdom. You know, Solomon had wisdom, but he also had godly wisdom, you know, and really that was the more important thing. That was you can have book sense, as we call it, you know, but he had spiritual sense. He had spiritual knowledge that he wanted to bestow on others as well. And obviously these 8 verses, we'll be able to learn a lot from it. But the first point here is the necessity of godly wisdom. You know, and the necessity of it obviously comes from how important it is and the importance of what it is that he wants us to have, you know, not necessarily obviously just to memorize, but to keep with us. You know, verse 1 tells us to preserve the teachings of God, you know, where he says, my son, do not forget my teaching, keep my commands in your heart. You know, preserve it. You know, he don't mean just put it in a can, you know, let it sit on the shelf for a minute. He's talking about keeping that in your heart, in your mind all the time, every single day. This ain't just something that you know, it's not a collectible item that you get one time and you look at it on the shelf. You know, this is something that you want to, you know, to keep in you. This is something more than just a memorization thing. This is something more than just a, you know, regurgitated on an exam like we used to back in school. You know, this is something that needs to be internalized. You know, the commands that he gives throughout the book of Proverbs, not just in chapter 3, you know, chapter 2's got a lot of different ones as well, all the way through the book, but all the commands that God gives, he's asking you here to internalize those things, you know, within your heart, not just your mind, between your ears. One of the things that was pretty neat, one of the commentators put it in there, it says, when the law of God is written on our hearts, there has to be an inward transformation. You know, this isn't just, you know, a little something that you do on Sunday morning, you know. This isn't a glorified part-time thing, you know. This is something that you should be doing every single day, every single morning, every single time that you're out, you know. They call it a regeneration of the body, a regeneration of the person. I looked that up in science. It means to replace and to restore a damaged cell. So, you know, a cell gets damaged. The regeneration of that is to replace it or restore it. From a spiritual standpoint, the regeneration means to replace the, you know, from your previous life to one previous life. So again, that would be to be born again in that sense, you know. And looking back again, you have to know the law. You know, to have the law internalized, you have to know it. You have to read it. You have to study it. You have to spend time in prayer to be able to understand the law that God is asking for you to internalize and keep into your heart there. Then you must obey the law. So once you know it, then you have to obey it. Then you got to live it out. You know, it's kind of a 3-step process there. You know, you got to learn it. You got to know it, which knowing it again comes from those reps, comes from those repetitions. And then obviously you got to walk it out in faith. You got to live it out. You know, looking at verse 2 there, it says, for they will prolong your life in many years and bring you peace and prosperity. You know, the reward for doing verse 1, the reward for preserving the teachings of God and the commands of God, the reward is the long and peaceful life. You know, you'll have a long life. You'll have a more peaceful life. You know, again, another commentator said it was many years without peace is like a curse. It drags you down mentally and spiritually. You know, I would also add physically. You know, physically it will drag you down as well. But obeying that command will obviously, you know, bring you peace and a long life into that. You know, one of the things that was kind of interesting was just thinking about that from a standpoint. I'm trying not to jump back into verse 5 and 6 there where it talks about other stuff. But it mentioned here, it said, you know, allow your years to be happy and rewarding. You know, to have a rewarding life and have a happy life, you know, spiritually, again, you have to obey the commands that God has given during this time, you know. I do believe that this reward, whether for a long life and for a peaceful life, is both here on earth and in heaven as well, for your eternal life. I think that's kind of the reward that you'll get is under both here physically and in heaven as well. And jumping into verse 3 here, verses 1 through 4 kind of leading into the meat of the sandwich of 5 and 6. Verse 3 again, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them down on the tablet of your heart. I do believe the King James Version uses mercy, love and mercy. So it's kind of interesting looking into that and some of the differences in why they put it there. And one of the things that's pretty cool, one of the commentaries was J. Vernon McGee had a thing on it. He said, mercy's translated to loving kindness, not just kindness on its own. You can be kind and stuff like that, but loving kindness is a total different game. It's a total different ball game. It's a whole nother level of mercy and kindness that's there. It's a really cool story. I wanted to share it with you. It said, a teacher asked a little girl to explain the difference between kindness and loving kindness. She said, kindness is when when you ask your mom for buttered toast and she gives it to you. But if she puts a little jelly on it without you asking, that's loving kindness. And, made me think at the same time, yeah, that's right. Get you a little, smeared Reen's Farm strawberry jelly up there on your biscuit, on your toast or whatever. That's loving kindness. Doing that little bit of extra, having that little bit of, sweet, if you will, of that jelly on the extra. That's loving kindness. You didn't ask for that. That won't part of your request there. But in this case, the mama gave it to her. Or that would be loving kindness. J. Vernon McGee added to it. He said God adds a little jelly on it for us as well. And that was as far as the salvation and the grace. He adds that little bit of extra to us. He allows us to have that loving kindness and be able to show that loving kindness every single day. And again, here in the NIV version, it has love and faithfulness and never leave you. And it was looking into it, and love and faithfulness is really the basis of our salvation. It's the foundation that we have as believers for, on our end of the bargain, on our end of the deal. We have to love and have faithfulness in Him and that. And so that's just the base of our salvation. So I thought both translations had a really good way of wording it, going into verse 3, And again, these are, love and faithfulness, mercy, whichever translation you have, whatever adjectives they use or whatever virtues that it wants you to have, those are stuff that you shouldn't just use occasionally. Those ain't something you just do on Sunday morning or that you would do one time a week, 2 times a week, or whatever it may be. Those are something that should never leave you. That's a command that should never leave you. And that's something that you should practice every single day, whatever it may be. When I started reading it, and it said, write them down on the tablet of your heart, the very first thing that hit my mind was George Strait saying, write this down, take a little note, back in 1999. And that was the only thing I can think of in my mind. Every time I read that, it's like, George Strait, I'll write this down, take a little note. But the only difference is George Strait wanted that to be a reminder for her, in the song, that was a reminder. That was just, hey, put it on the fridge, put it here, put it there. This case, don't just put it on the fridge. He don't want you to hang it up there like it's some kid painting that they have. No offense to any kids, but it ain't a grocery list that's just hanging there, chilling, and you scratch it off as you buy stuff when you go to Dollar General. This is something that you have to internalize. This is that 1 through 4. Really, the biggest point that the message is to really internalize this in your heart, not just between your ears and your brain there, but really act it out. And that's the distance between these two comes from acting it out. Charles Bridges, another commentator. I got a few quotes in here from these commentators. I think they were really good. I want to make sure I give them credit for it. But Charles Bridges said, the heart's the first thing to wander away from God, but it is also the first thing that returns to God. And, again, if you have those internalized in your heart, whether you wander away, from God, however far it may be, the first thing that returns, it will be the heart, and that would be the first thing that will bring you and pull you back, and again, that love and kindness being the foundation of the salvation that we have. If you already have that love and kindness in you, then that will be able to bring you back as well. And again, I'm going to go ahead and jump into verse 4 here. I'm going to read it for you again. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. And so, verse 4, by doing this, you will win of favor. And, you know, how do you win a favor, you know, in God and man? You know, and I was reading, I was like, I thought that's kind of interesting. It's like, okay, well, you know, how does that work? You know, how do you have God and man both of favor? And through studying, it came down to what you're doing to apply that, or how you're able to gain that, is you're showing consistent godliness through those virtues every single day. That's the call, that's the command. That's what King Solomon's trying to teach his son, or trying to teach his kid or grandkids, is that, and that's what God's trying to teach us, is that every single day this needs to be what you're doing. You need to have that constant godliness, that constant loving kindness, that constant mercy for others, you know, constant faithfulness, and then that's when you'll receive that gift of the favor, both in God and in your fellow man. You know, he wants you to hand it out almost like a free sample. You know, give out loving kindness, always be faithful. And you know, looking into part 2, you know, this is going to be the meat of the sandwich. I was joking around with Miss Deborah a couple of weeks ago, talking about, you know, that's the meat of the sandwich, that's the bologna, the rest of it was the cheese and bread, and she looked at me with a look of disgust. So I guess this is your smoked turkey or roast beef or whatever else you wanted, but I was thinking broadleaf bologna for myself, fried. But so verses 5 through 7.2, if you want to put that out there for me, David, the command of godly wisdom. So what he's doing here is he's really giving you, if you will, the marching orders of that. And that's what I was thinking, was the marching orders. Like, hey, this is our call. This is what the plan is. This is the deal. And you know, this is the meat of the sandwich. This is what it really boils down to, is 5 and 6, and then obviously adding 7 to it to really bring those back around. And you know, going into verse 5 here, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Going into 7, do not be wise in your own ways, fear the Lord and shun evil. And so it says here, obviously in verse 5, it says, trust in God with all of your heart. Not half of it, not some of it, not part of it, not the whole thing part of the time, with all of it. And that requires full submission. You know, to be able to trust God with everything you have, that requires a full submission to him. I know to some that might be a dirty little S word, submit, but that's really what we're doing, is we're laying down our entire lives to God. Again, if you're going to trust him with everything you have, if you're going to lean not on your own understanding, lean on his, you have to give him everything. You have to fully rely on the wisdom of God in all the aspects that you have. Not just some of them, not just some days, not just some things. You know, when that says all aspects, that means everything we do. That means whatever you eat for lunch, where you go buy gas, where, you know, what t-shirt you're gonna wear, you know, what, you know, whatever it may be. Everything needs to be canceled from God. You know, everything we do needs to come from the guidance of him. You know, trusting in his divine power is like using him as a lamp, or this day and time like a GPS, where we can find our way. You know, our phones have GPSs. You got them in your cars now. All you got to do is put an address in, hit it. As long as you got signal, you can get to where you're going. If you don't have signal, you're on your own. You know, you better get to praying. Every time I think GPS, all I can ever think of is my uncle in Texas. This was 2004, so, you know, GPSs were, it might have been a TomTom, to be honest with you, stuck up there on the glass or on the dash or whatever it may be. And we were heading to a graduation, and they had a pretty big class. I think it was close to 1,000 people, so they were graduating in a college basketball arena, if you will. And this thing kept saying, you know, take the next right. Then he wouldn't turn. And say, recalculate. And then we go to the next one. Take this next right. Now I know where I'm going. And he wouldn't take it. You know, that's all I could think of on the GPS things. Recalculate. It said it about 7 times. You know, it was kind of interesting looking at this right here. I thought about it. I was like, I wonder how many times God told me to recalculate. And I wonder how many times he's had to tell me. You know, I thought about it for a second. I was like, maybe he don't say recalculate. And then I thought about it. I was like, no, he does. He does. Yeah, I've heard that one a few times. You got to, you know, the closer you grow with him, the more you can see those things, you can hear those things, and And I try not to let them have to say recalculating as much now as as before. But like I said, every time I hear GPS or guiding something, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And again, to have that opportunity for God to guide you, that trust has to be constant. It has to be there every single day, every single morning. We use Charles Bridges again. Charles had some really good quotes here. It said, "Take one step at a time. Make sure that each step is under God's direction. Always make your plans in total dependence on God. It is nothing short of self-idolatry to imagine that we can carry out our own even the ordinary matters of daily life without God's counsel. God loves to be consulted. Therefore, take all your difficulties to Him." And again, he's reiterating the point that I was making earlier on every single thing. Whether it's Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's for lunch. I think that's easy to say. But anything that you do, because you never know who you may have to run into. He wants to put you in that situation or at that gas station. You pull up at an intersection and there's 3 gas stations on the 4 corners that are there. How do you pick one? Let him pick you, because you never know who you might run into. You may have to pay cash, go in there, and the teller have a bad day. The cashier, and never know the impact that you could have. So every single step that you make, allow Him to guide that for you. Don't make it on your own. And again, to do that, you have to fully rely on His divine wisdom. Another thing that you can get when you fully rely on His divine wisdom is a sense of security and a sense of comfort and not so nervous. I sat there and thought about it this week. Last week everybody kept telling me, "Oh, you're going to do a great job," and I appreciate it, and I do. And I appreciate it a lot in the prayers, I really do. But I kind of gave myself a sense of like, man, I got to do good, because everybody thinks I'm going to do good, and I got to really do half decent here. But first time standing up here in front of everybody, it's going to be interesting. And but right here, it talks about, it gives you a sense of security. And I sat there thinking about it. I was like, if I walk up in there nervous, I am literally not practicing what I am going to preach. And so to me, Mr. Reese made a comment saying I didn't look nervous. Well, you didn't see my feet shaking. And that's why my jacket's still on, because I'm sure I'm sweating. But that's why I'm still playing with my hands and looking down. But, it's still there. But, at the same time, I was like, I can't let the nerves affect it. I can't let the nerves get so bad that I got to call an audible and let somebody else come do it. That wouldn't be right. And literally not practice what I'm preaching. I sit there thinking, well, I see why you want me to preach this sermon, man. But yeah, again, it gives you a sense of security, and it really does. I appreciate those that said something to me. I appreciate those that were praying for me, because it does give you a sense of security. It does give you a sense of peace. It does give you relaxation. And a buddy of mine needed help in the food truck yesterday. It was just me and him, and we were busy for 2.5 hours. I didn't check my phone, didn't leave that spot. And I told him, I said, I appreciate you giving me a break. I said, it did a lot for me to be able to just kind of shut that off, do something else, and then come back to it. But again, that sense of security that you get and that sense of peace that you get, it isn't just for standing in front of however many, 60, 70 people that are here. It gives you that sense of peace in everything that you do. No matter the aspect, no matter the life that you walk, and what the next step may be. It could be, like I said, it could be something small, just like your, where you want to eat for lunch. This afternoon when I let you out, probably a little bit late, or I was already worried about going too soon, but shoot, I still got 2 more pages. I better get talking fast. But no wonder Billy liked it too good. But he's like, we got 45 minutes worth of stuff. But don't get nervous, I'll get through it. But yeah, every single step, though, no matter what it is, if it's a big health issue, if it's something small like that, what shoes to buy, whatever it may be, every single step you have an opportunity to be a witness for God in that area, in that opportunity. So allow Him to guide that for you. I'm going to jump down to verse 6 here. I'm going to read it for you again. In all of your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. I think I've hit the nail on the head quite a bit as far as submitting to Him and as far as obeying the commands. The second part of that is He'll set your path straight. And, He will, if you pray for that every single morning, I do believe He'll give you that every single morning. Now, I do think from all the studies that I've done, the commentaries and stuff, I believe that's a thing. That's something you should do every single day. I don't think you're going to pray for it one time and he's going to show you the entire life plan. One of the commentaries put it, said it's like driving at night with low beams on. God's going to show you what the next step is. He ain't going to show you what the entire next mile looks like, but he's going to show you what the next step is, little by little, as you move forward. As you walk forward, as you take that step of faith into that direction, he'll show it to you. Now, if you don't ever move and you just stand there like a statue of David and you don't move, and all you're ever going to see is that first 2-3 foot section. But in this case here, the second part of chapter, verse 6, is he'll make your path straight. I do believe he will, as you ask for it, as you submit that entire life to him, he'll give that to you. One of the commentators put it said you should go to God in full humility to let him order your day. That's how he worded it every single morning. He said that's the prayer, in full humility. God, you put me in places that you want me to be at. Another commentator put it, no step well prayed over will ever bring regret. And I firmly believe it. I don't think that if you are praying for God to lead your life and his will to be your will, and you act out that will, I don't think you'll ever have a regret from that. Now, it don't mean that it ain't going to be hard. It don't mean that it ain't going to be a tough road, They always say he's going to put you on a path. I grew up in Johnson County. There's a lot of dirt roads, or used to be a lot of dirt roads. I grew up on a path that had more potholes in it, and Swiss cheese had holes. But I think you're going to be on some rough, paths, some rough obstacles. But that don't mean it's going to be paved with concrete. But I do think that if you were to walk those steps out, and you were to walk that out in full faith and full humility, I do think you'll go through it without a regret. Looking here again, another commentator, I try to use that as much as I could, and they had really good quotes, so I want to at least give them the credit for it. It said, we'll be walking in the will of God, and we allow him to guide our lives the way he sees necessary for his kingdom. Again, for me, it's very easy to look at what it can do for Landon. What can that do for Landon? What does it do for Landon to, whatever it may be, what does it do for Landon to eat here? What does it do for Landon to go here? It's a bigger picture once you look at it from the standpoint, okay, me doing X, Y, and Z is going to do what for God's kingdom? What can I do to further the kingdom for God? And in reality, the bigger picture that God has for us, I don't think we can fully understand it, obviously, especially as small-minded as humans are compared to how big his, infinite divine mind is. We won't never fully understand the entire reasons behind the moves that he makes. Again, that's where the sole reliance, comes, that you got to have on him, and the full reliance. But I do believe that as individuals, we can make small parts that could make small benefits and large benefits in the kingdom, But I do believe that if we were to walk it out and allow him to walk out his will, his entire picture, even though we're kind of tunnel vision on seeing just kind of where our play is and doing our part, you'd be surprised how well that could do for the kingdom. And again, this requires a full reliance on God, regardless of what the situation may be. It says, in all of your ways, submit to him. In everything that you do, no matter what the inconvenience may be. It could be Raleigh traffic. It could be a delayed flight at RDU. It could be a delayed, lunch or whatever. You're sitting at Bojangles and Zeppelin and they're taking 25 minutes to get your chicken ready. It could be whatever it may be. It don't matter what the day is. The day is a gorgeous day. It's bluebird skies, not a cloud in the sky. I mentioned that to Mr. Eddie this morning. I said, I don't think there's a cloud in the sky. It feels great, especially for late October. It don't matter if it's that, if it's a hurricane, if it's a storm, if it's snowing, sleeting, it don't matter every single day. It don't matter the timing. I don't have a lot of patience. Now, that might surprise you how much I like to fish, but, somebody once said, man, you love to fish, you must have a lot of patience. I do when it comes to that fish. I don't when it comes to everything else. And, I'm kind of like that commercial where they talk about, I want my money and I want it now. It's kind of my deal on everything in life. I want my food, I want it now. I want this, I want it now. And, why wait? And, it don't matter the timing of anything as well. It could it could be it could be 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, whatever it may be. Don't matter the timing. You have to have that patience. How do you have that patience? You got to have full reliance on God. You know, the life we live here, in reality, you know, the education matters. What you do with this life does matter, but really, when it all boils down to it, only thing that really is going to matter for the rest of eternity is what we did to glorify God. What did we do to glorify God? What did we do to grow the kingdom? Those two things are really the only two things that is going to matter. I'll be honest with you. That's the only reason why I'm standing up here. Is maybe that you can get out of those 8 verses and out of the whatever million words that I'm going to say up here, you can get just a little something that can help you grow, help you glorify God, and help you grow the kingdom as well. So I'm going to jump into verse 7. Hopefully here I'll get to verse 8 real quick. It won't take too long. I ain't got too much more. Verse 7, again, it says, do not be wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord, shun evil. You know, that the difference in what it is here is, you know, we have worldly eyes. We see things from a different perspective. And one of the things, I have a picture of it up there. First thing I thought about it is we got to see things through God's eyes. And again, I've said it multiple times, I love to fish. And one of the things that we, us avid fishermen, I guess you would say, the diehards, we'll invest a pretty decent amount of money in polarized sunglasses. And the reason why, as you can see either above me here, is on the left side there, polarized, you can see every single thing. You can see every rock, you can see every stone, you can see a fish when it's there, you can tell what grass it is, and all those variables play into what you're going to throw and how you're going to catch that fish. Obviously, you see on the right, non-polarized, you have that glare. You don't see it coming. You know, you don't see that issue that's there. You know, and to me, what he's saying here too is you know, when you see things through the way God sees them, you're seeing it polarized. You know, that was the easiest correlation for me, is you get to see everything. If you don't see things through God's eyes, you don't see that rock. You may not see that obstacle that comes. You may not see that roadblock that's up ahead. You may not see that opportunity where you're going to get, you know, hurt or, you know, harmed or whatever it may be. But if you saw it through God's eyes, he may could prevent that from happening to you. So to me, that was the biggest correlation, was being able to see things through his eyes was like seeing things through polarized lenses, you know. And again, you know, we're to shun evil. You know, one of the commentators put it here, it says, where God is honored, sin is hated. You know, and again, I think that is very true. Where you honor God, you can't have sin in present as well. You know, where you have sin present, there's not much honor of God. You know, I'm gonna kind of go a little bit quicker. I'm kind of go a little longer than I thought. But looking into this, you know, sin as a whole, I do believe that it makes the body sick. You know, I think, and what I mean by that is you can stress over it. You know, depending on what the sin may be, you can get, you know, disease from it. There's different scriptures about, you know, about different types of sins that can allow to have physical illness. But I also think the biggest issue is that it has impact and illness on your soul, on your spiritual walk as well. And looking back into verse 8, it says, this will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones, you know. And looking at point number 3 there, let's see here, David. There you go. But the result of godly wisdom, the result really is a little bit of it all. And I got a kind of neat little contrast there between the odds and the evens. I'll get that in a second. But one of the coolest things to me about all of this is I do believe that it does bring health to your body and obviously nourishment to your bones. I think it can bring a physical healing. I do believe that it can bring a physical health, prosperity, if you will, you know, and have the opportunity for long lives. Where does it all come from? Obviously, again, the message of the story today is healing is the result of godly wisdom. You know, where do we need healing from? Where there's been harm done. You know, that could be harm that you've done to yourself. That could be harm other people have done to you. That could be harm that Satan's done to you. You know, both in the physical and spiritual. But I also think it can be both physical and spiritual healing that he can bring to you as well. You know, one of the commentators put it, the more we seek God, the less often we will sin and cause harm to ourselves. You know, one thing to think about as well, you know, God allows it to be harm. You know, he allows us to walk that out and harm, you know, to bring that to us. There's two things that really come from that. Number one, it shows us how much we really need to rely on Him through everything that we do. But also, number two, it allows us to grow from it. Whatever it may be, whatever the obstacle may be, it allows you to grow from it. If you work out at all, you're literally tearing your muscle apart to allow it to grow back bigger. And, if you break a bone, from what my understanding is, I think there's an X-ray tech in there that may tell me different if I'm wrong, but the bone breaks, and when it grows back stronger. And I do believe that if you have the same opportunity in your spiritual walk, that you can grow closer to God and grow back stronger as well. Another thing God will allow it to do, if it doesn't get to the point where it's healing us, I think God will allow it to bring us to our knees. And I was talking to Billy about that, and I was like, if He brings us to our knees, if you really think about that, that's some pretty rough stuff that you've hit your knees, it's bothered you so bad. But I also thought about it, I'm like, what better place for Him to bring you? Everything I've always read said the biggest spiritual battles will always be fought on your knees praying. So what better option for you to be than already on your knees? The best option you can have right then and there is to pray for that healing. And again, I believe that God Himself can bring, through His wisdom, can bring healing of the body, can bring healing of the soul and the spirit, both in your physical and your spiritual, as well. And to have the godly wisdom, some of the other benefits of it as well, we rest in God's, providence. He'll revive your soul. But again, the ultimate healing in verse 8, it talks about bringing health to your body and nourishment to your bones, but the ultimate healing took place on the cross. The ultimate healing took place, when Jesus was hanging there paying for our sins. That's the ultimate healing. That's internal healing that we'll have. When He did that, He saved, if you're a believer, fully rely on God, He saved your soul from hell. You have to have your full reliance on Him to have that, but He saved you, not only from that, but, again, He can save you physically and spiritually as well. Again, going into the conclusion here, obviously the first part, we should keep the teachings that He has, keep them bound into your heart, memorize them, walk them out, do more to memorize them, internalize them. And I do believe that God blesses those that do. I got 3 quotes here, one from John MacArthur. It says, Christ-likeness is the substance of spiritual dedication. And I thought that was a really good one to add to this. I think if you are that dedicated to God, you're going to show it. It's going to show when you come out and go out into every aspect of your life, whatever it may be. You always hear things and hear people say, you may be the only Jesus that person sees today. Smile at them, say, hey, lift them up, do something like that, and that'll show every single day at your level of spiritual dedication. The second one that I had was Lee Robertson. He was a preacher out in Tennessee, years back, and I believe he started a Bible college there, but he had a really good quote. It said, in all true faith, there is complete committal to God. And again, that's another reference of just full commitment. And that's where the true faith comes from. And then Chuck Swindoll out in Texas had another good one here. It says, more than once, Jesus deliberately addressed certain issues that quickly diminished the number of onlookers. It was commitment that thinned the ranks. And what he's referring to obviously here is he would say some things and people would kind of go, I don't like that, I'm going to walk off a little bit and move on. And the ones that made people really move out was the level of commitment that you had to have, to have that godly knowledge, to have that opportunity. And if you throw that odd and even comparison up there for me. So I should have made the text a little bigger so you could read it. So really what it is here, it shows you, these are 8 verses, and what was really cool was looking at it, you had the even verses that were the divine reward. That was, if you do X, this is what, God will do. And then obviously the odd is the action that we had to have. Obviously verse 1, the human action, if you keep the commandments, you'll live a long life. Unfailing love, and kindness, you're going to have favor in God and people. If you trust the Lord, He's going to straighten your path. He's going to show you where you need to go. If you fear the Lord, you're going to have the opportunity for healing. And I thought that was really good, and the way that it contrasted like that as well. But if you would bow your heads for me for a second here. I've talked a lot on having that level of commitment, right now would be a great time if you wanted to, and you say, you know what, I haven't had that level of commitment. For myself, I had to kind of check myself a little bit on that as well while studying this is, Lord, am I not committed enough to you? Do I not fully rely on you enough? This would be a great time for you to pray to God. Lord, allow me to have that full commitment. Lord, I give you my entire life. I give you everything that I have. And Miss Teresa mentioned it at the beginning of her song there, we're not fighting in this alone. He's always there. He's always there. And, you're not fighting by yourself on anything, whatever it may be. Again, any decision in life, go to God for that. Go for his guidance. Go for his counsel. Go for his wisdom for that, Right now would be a great time to pray that you fully submit to God and sole reliance on him. There may be somebody in here that hasn't done that. There may be somebody in here that hasn't given a full reliance on God. Maybe somebody in here saying, you know what, that's what I want. I want the opportunity to have that. And, if you want to, more than welcome to walk up here. I'll stand up here at the front. And, if that's what you want to do today, a great day to do that. And any members of the praise team want to come back up here, I'm going to say a quick word of prayer on this right here, and then we'll let them go. I'll give you the opportunity to walk up. If you don't want to talk to me, no problem. I'll probably talk to you yours off. You can more than welcome to find Mr. Eddie or Mr. Sherwood or any of the other deacons here or whatever it may be. But I just I pray that you have the opportunity to, whatever it may be, to allow God to fully direct you in your path. But all right, Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the beautiful weather, as Hunter mentioned. Thank you for the people that are here that came, Lord. Thank you for the family that came and supported. Thank you for the numerous text messages and comments and the encouragement and the prayers, Lord. Thank you for everybody that has poured into me on this right here, Lord. Thank you for the opportunity to stand up here and to give you some of the words here, Lord. I pray that something that was said today, somebody can take and learn from it, Lord. And Lord, I pray that if somebody here wants to put their life in your hands, Lord, I pray that today be a great day for them to make that decision, Lord. And I pray that folks can understand the full reliance on God and what it can really bring to them, the positive that that'll bring to their lives holistically as well, Lord. And again, Lord, thank you for everybody here. Thank you for everybody that had the opportunity to come and listen, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
To Jesus I surrender.